In this video I'll showcase you all the items in Logic World so that you can start building your own machines. Hi, welcome to the video. I'm here, sitting in my comfy chair right here, looking at all these circuits and wires and things. It looks kind of complicated, but don't you worry, I'll try to go slow and explain you everything so that you can understand it clearly. There will be timestamps in the video so you can jump around if there are some parts you already know or you just want to skip something. So let's get started. So let's get started with the simple concept of a wire. A wire connects two pegs. These are the pegs. You can see also in my toolbar. We can place the pegs either on the walls or in the floor. And the pegs can be connected between them with wires. So there's no limit on how many wires the peg can have. And besides that, a wire can be on or off. It can also be called 1 or 0 or low and high. So I have here a switch that can be on or off. And if I connect the peg on the switch to the rest of these wires and I turn on the switch, the wire will change state and be on. Also you can then also connect this one and it will turn on, obviously. So this is the first concept of connecting things with wires. On the side I have here through pegs. These ones have a different functionality, that they also go through the wall. So here this peg is not connected on this side, but because the peg goes through the wall and it's connected on this side, it turns on this one on top. After that we have these things called sockets. So when I turn on this switch, the power will go through this wire and go through the socket. But the socket is not, it's connected, it passes the signal by being together with another socket. So this is not very useful at the beginning, but later on when we start copying circuits around, it is easier to just align these sockets instead of creating new connections with wires. There's also the smaller socket. It works the same. The only difference is it's smaller, so you can kind of have multiple in the same block, just like this. And then you could have more sockets besides it. Now let's look at all the input methods. So all of these. So the first one we already saw a little bit about, it's a switch. So it just turns on or turns off when we click it. Then we have a button. So a button turns on when we are clicking it. So if I click and hold, it stays on. When I release the mouse left button, it turns off. Then we have a very interesting one. This one is very useful. If I click it with my mouse, it turns on. But besides that, I can also hit enter on my keyboard and it also works. So it's a configurable input. So if you click with the X or you right mouse click and go to edit component, we can change the button. So let's say I change this to B. Then if I hit B on my keyboard, it also works. So this could be useful to imagine if you want to build a calculator or something like that, and you can have all the different numbers and you kind of can just work on your keyboard without clicking the inputs on the game. So these are the three input methods. Then there are also the same three input methods, but they go through the wall, so they work exactly the same. The only difference is that the connector, instead of being on the same side, it goes through the wall, but the functionality is the same. So I routed each wire to the top, so if I flip the switch, it turns on. If I click the button, kind of cannot see, yeah. And if I hit enter on my keyboard, it turns the last one. Now we are getting into the interesting stuff. Be looking at the first three logic gates. So the first one is an inverter. So as the name suggests, it inverts the signal. So if the input is off, the output is on. And if we switch, the line is now on and the output is off. So it's always inverted. Pretty simple. Next one, it's the SHOR. So it means exclusive OR. So it means that only one of the inputs can be on so that the output will be on. So let's turn this one on. It's on. If I turn it off again, it's off. Turn the bottom one on, it's on. But if I turn both on, it's not on the exit. So only one can be on at a time. That's exclusive OR. Then there's the AND gate. The AND gate works that only when both inputs are on, the output is on. So AND, both have to be on. If you are enjoying the video, please leave a like. And if you want to check out more content on Logic World, subscribe. I'll be doing more videos. So let's carry on with the video. So the next three logic gates are delayer, dlatch, and oracle. Starting on the delayer, it delays the signal by the amount defined on the gate. So in this case, it's 30 game ticks. So you can see it takes 30 game ticks to turn on, and also when you turn off, it takes another 30 game ticks to turn off. This is configurable by right-clicking and edit, or clicking on the X key, and you can change the delay between 1 and 30. So let's put it at like 8 and see that now it's much faster than it was before. After that, we have the dlatch. So this one allows signal to pass through only when the input on the top is on. So if I switch on or off on the left side, nothing happens on the output because the lock is off. Once I turn on this input, the signal passes through. Okay, but now there's an extra functionality that, for example, if I have the signal passing through, but then I turn off the top input and I turn off the left input, the right is locked. So this means that the signal can only pass through when the input on top is on, and if the signal on top is off, it locks the value that it was on. So if I turn on now the top input, the off signal will pass through, so it resets. Okay, finally we have the oracle. The oracle is just a way to have some random. So if I turn on, in this case it didn't turn on, but it's a 50-50% chance of the oracle turning on or not. So let's try again. It's still turned off, so it's by chance. Now it turned on, but let's see, now it turned on again and on again. So it's random. It's a way to have some randomness. Before we go to the last two gates, let me show you something about the pegs and the wires. So you can see here that there are these thin, tall pegs and these fatter ones. So what does it mean? For example, you can check also in the gates. These larger ones are output only, so they cannot carry a signal or they cannot receive a signal. So here in the switches example, if I turn on the switch, this one, since it's just output, it outputs the signal, but the signal does not carry on to this one. So this will be useful in a little bit in the explanation of the next gates. The last two gates are relay and buffer. Relay is very similar to a dlatch, but it does not have the lockup ability. So if I turn on the signal on the left, it is not passing to the right because the top signal is off. If I turn on the top signal, the right is on. Here is the thing that I just talked about. Even though the line is not on, the signal is on, but it's not going to this one because it's just an output one. If I connect it to a different pack, it is passing on. If I turn this on, doesn't change anything. And if the other way around, the signal is passing. If I turn off the signal on the top, it stops passing. Okay, so then we have the buffer. The buffer is probably the simplest gate. It's just a one-way road. Basically, the signal can go from the left to the right. Here is the same thing. So if I add one peg here, the signal is passing on, but the signal does not pass from the right to the left. So just to make sure there's an one-way road, and this is very useful in some scenarios that we don't want signals to merge or something like that. So no more confusing logic gates. Now we are looking at the outputs. So this little tab here. So the first two ones are lights, so displays. If you connect a wire to the display and turn it on, it turns on, obviously. So you can also configure the colors here. Pretty simple, very useful while debugging or to display some information. The second one is also a light, but it's as a pass-through peg, so it's turned on by the other side, and it has pretty much the same functionality, but it's flatter on the wall. Then we have the singer, so this is a way to play a note when the signal turns on. This is also very configurable. If you like music and understand all of this, I'm sure you can make some pretty awesome stuff. Then the next one is a drum, so very similar but with different notes and options. So also very configurable. Okay, almost at the end. Here looking at the circuit board. So circuit boards are these kind of walls and can also be floors. They can have different colors. This is a place where you can lay out your circuits and make it pretty if you want. One awesome feature about this is because you can clone items in the game, and it clones all the items on the circuit board. So if you have a complex circuit board that you want to copy around a lot, if you have an individual circuit board with all the things on top of it, you can now then clone it, and it's easier to make something that is bigger. After that we have the mount. This is useful when we have something that is tight on space and we want to have multiple levels. We can mount stuff on top. It can be pegs or it can be circuits, can be anything. So it's just a way to have a different dimension on the circuit. Okay, last but not least, I guess, we have the decor. So in the decor, we also already saw some of it, the panel label. We also have the normal label that it's bigger, but pretty much the same functionality. If we edit, we can change what's inside, we can change the font size and stuff like that. So pretty useful to organize stuff. Also have these pretty flags that they have a secondary functionality about teleporting. So for example, here I'm in the flag end, but you can go to the flag start and it teleports us. So it just went to the left side of all these walls. So it's pretty useful if you have a big world and want to fly around and stuff like that. And lastly, okay, we have the the chair. So here I have my comfy chair. I can go back on it. So yeah, pretty cool. Awesome, you got to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed and learned a lot. Leave a comment below with your feedback and ideas for new videos.